So, good evening. I am still recovering from some COVID-19, and I decided that having a pre-recorded video instead of going live this evening would be the safest thing for me to do. So, I am going to show you a technique today called two-step stamping. And I'm actually using page 12 of the mini catalog, the January through June mini catalog. And if you have a regular catalog, you can see some two-step stamping on page 27 and also on page 32 with the fine art floral set. I'm going to show you today using a touch of ink. And this is a really pretty stamp set that is available through our sale Abrasion special event. And basically when you spend $100, you can choose this as one of your free items. This does become available at the $100 level. And you can see these beautiful images, and you can see there are two for each of these decorative featured stamps. So we have our hummingbird, and this would be your detail and your outline, and this would be your fill. We also have these leaves and the fill for those, this fabulous little flower and the fill for that, and of course our wonderful butterfly and the fill for that. I'm going to use three colors tonight. So I'm going to use Mossy Meadow, that's the green that you see on the card. I am going to use Poppy Parade, that's this red color for the flower, and then I am using Pretty Peacock for the hummingbird. Sorry for some of my sniffles. I am, as I said, still getting through having coronavirus, and I am happy to still be awake at the moment. So let's get started with some two-step stamping. So with two-step stamping, you can use multiple colors, but today we're going to do what's called stamping off, which is a secondary technique to two-step stamping. So the first thing I'm going to do is this background piece with the leaf image. So I have my cardstock ready to go, and I am using Mossy Meadow. I'm going to do the details first. So I'm just pressing down on my ink pad there and pulling it back up. And I want to use the full strength ink, and I'm just going to kind of make most of this towards the left hand side. So I'm just pushing, pulling back up. I re-inked, and then I'm going to arrange this right here so that I have multiple images here. Gonna put that aside. Now for our leaf images, I don't want them quite as dark as our outline, and instead of using a second color, I'm going to do what's called stamping off. So I'm going to ink up the inside image. You can see it right there, and I'm going to stamp off in the corner on my little grid paper here one time. And then I'm going to go ahead and line these up and stamp the second time on my paper. So you can see how those go, and I'm going to do that one more time. I'm going to stamp off on the corner, and then I'll come over here and line this up. And these are intended to be kind of like an artist's rendering, so they are not gonna be as perfect as some stamping images might be. Just in case you're one of those super perfectionist folks, this one will not work like that. It is designed to have that little extra shading around there. Excuse me. So that is the first stage of our card. And the next piece I'm going to work on is the flower and the hummingbird. So I'm going to use the Poppy Parade for our flower, and I'm going to use it in the same manner that I did the leaves. So let's get this open. And we are actually going to stamp that flower on the bottom corner right here. Let me get those parts out. I'm using our acrylic blocks, which you can see through, and those are very helpful with all of our stamps for placement. And I would like this flower to be at this bottom corner, so I'm just going to stamp on there and pull that off. And so that's my detail image. I'm going to take the color for the inside, and of course I'm going to stamp off first. And I'm actually going to stamp off a second time because I don't want this super dark. And then I'm going to line up that image and push down there, pull back up, and you can see that that flower is there. Move that out of the way. Now, in the initial card that I created, I actually stamped this on a scrap piece of paper, and I used our fabulous paper snips, and I snipped out that image and actually raised it up just a little bit, just for the sake of my voice and time this evening. We're just going to have our flat image right here, and then we're going to work on our hummingbird next. So the hummingbird, see, that is one of my favorite creatures. They're just so cool to watch, especially when they are feeding and fighting for the feeders. So I'm going to turn this and angle it just so that I can tell that this hummingbird is coming in to drink the nectar from this, this flower. I'm actually going to go towards the top because I really want to see that hummingbird. There we go. And now I do not have quite enough blocks, so I'm gonna pull another one out and get that hummingbird inside ready. And any acrylic blocks work. Okay. So same color. This is Pretty Peacock, one of my favorites. And I am, of course, going to stamp this off onto my grid paper first. And then I'm going to line this up. And push and pull. Okay, just like that. Okay. So now I have a couple of my parts ready, and we have one last piece to do, and that's going to be our sentiment. And I did hope on the big card, and I'm going to use love on this one. Okay. And now we're just going to assemble this. So let me get this messy thing out of the way. And I will share how to do that. I'm going to fold up my ink pad so I don't wear it to bed with me. So this is our Mossy Meadow card base. I'm going to fold this. It's already scored. This is 5.5 by 11, and it is scored at 4 1/4. So it opens like this. I might have said those measurements wrong. I'm not 100% sure right now because my brain does not work right now. I am going to use Stampin' Seal, and I'm just going to put some on the back of our leaves. And I'm going to line this up right here. Okay. I'm going to turn that over and smush it all down. Okay, so the next piece we're going to do, We're gonna go ahead and layer this on here. And again, I'm gonna use Stampin' Seal to layer the white onto the pretty peacock. And then we're gonna use some dimensionals to pop this up just a little bit. Okay. Dimensionals give just what the name implies, some dimension to your projects. Sometimes I use a little bit more, sometimes I use a little bit less, just depends on how much paper there's going to be layered together. You kind of want it to hold up when it goes through the mail. Alright, so I'm going to put this guy up here like this. Okay. Now we're going to put together that sentiment, and I have this cut a little extra long so that I could make sure I had enough. I'm going to add a little bit of Stampin' Seal to the back of the sentiment itself, and I'm going to layer this on here, and I'm just going to come over here and snip off this little bit of extra. Okay. And now I want this to be over here, and you remember we layered this with a dimensional, but this one is flat. So I'm going to put a little bit of adhesive on this side and one dimensional on here. The other thing I could do is one dimensional here and two dimensionals stacked on top of one another. So I think that's what I'm gonna do first. So we're gonna do one on the inside and we'll do two on the outside. So I put that on there, and I'm going to peel the backing off, and I'm going to add a second dimensional just to give it a little bit of dimension itself. Peel those off. And I'm just going to line this up where I like it. And I'm going to go ahead and push that down. So now I have like 3 different layers of dimension going on there. Now, just because we like to step things up just a little bit, we like to add some sparkle in our house. My daughter especially loves this Wink of Stella. So on the original one, I did some Wink of Stella. So I'm just going to color that on here. It does make some of the color run just a little bit. It's not too bad. All right. So we have a little bit of sparkle. You can see the sparkle in there. There we go. And then I'm going to add an extra sparkle on the bottom here with our opal rounds. Pull them out of the package. So I'm gonna take this and I'm gonna put 3 little ones down here in the corner, or 3 multi-sized, I should say. So 1, 2, maybe. Get that on there. There we go. And 3. And there you have it. So this evening's project, nice and quick and short, sweet and simple. This was 2-step stamping where we used the same color on the inside and the detail. If you would like more information, let me know. I would be happy to teach you some more. Have a great night.